Hey everyone, good morning, afternoon, night, if you're seeing this at nighttime. I wanted to address a few things that I hear is going on. One particular thing that is so stupidly small but yet annoying is that people are claiming that we are not in a lawsuit, that this is not a lawsuit. So I am here to tell you all that it is, in fact, a lawsuit. And a quick, if you're not a lawyer, if you don't know, whatever, fine. But a quick Google search will tell you as much. So you type in over here, is an injunction complaint a lawsuit? The answer is an injunction is not a lawsuit itself, but rather a specific type of court order requested within a lawsuit, meaning a complaint which initiates a lawsuit would need to be filed to seek an injunction as a remedy. Therefore, an injunction and complaint together would be considered part of a lawsuit. Now, I get it. If you didn't know that, you didn't know that. You could have Googled it the way I just did. Some people don't care to take the initiative. They just rather pretend they know everything because they've covered true crime, whatever. Not only that, but throughout the transcripts that we read, you will hear the judge often refer to this as a lawsuit, and Lesniak respond as such. That is a lawsuit. So if that's not, enough to prove it, there's also plenty of filings by our attorneys that do as well call it a lawsuit. So one interesting filings, I keep hearing people state, oh, they defamed Seth Rogers. They called him a P word. And, as a look at our filing that addresses the quote unquote defamation. So here it is. This right here is a fantastic filing by one of Barbecue's attorneys. And within it, they address all the reasons why the statement they're claiming that was made that somebody somewhere called Seth Rogers a pedophile is not defamatory. And not only that, but I never said it. So here it says, Ms. True submits this memoranda to emphasize that this single acontextual, non-specific allegation of pedophilia is wholly insufficient to defeat the defendant's respective motions pursuant to the act, which is the anti-SLAPP. It goes down to say that they failed to comply with requirements of Pennsylvania Rule of Civil Procedure, which is a rule of civil procedure in a lawsuit, ironically. We go down here, it's going to say exactly what they claim, which ironically, again, the only allegation concerning the word pedophilia and the entire complaint appears in the middle paragraph 210. And then here's what it says, okay? Defendants Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching engaged in a pattern of extreme and outrageous conduct directed at plaintiff Rogers. This conduct includes spreading false allegations of criminal behavior, such as accusations of pedophilia and involvement in the murder of his child, along with threats to his safety. The defendant's actions were maliciously intended to harm Rogers emotionally, damage his reputation, and derail the search for his missing son. Not only that, but they don't even allege this as defamation. They allege it as an intentional infliction of emotional distress. So it goes on to say why all of this is ridiculous and how, if that's the main basis of Lesniak's oral argument, why didn't he give more focus to it to begin with? Blah de da de da. And it's a great question to have. I mean, I have the same question. If that's the main basis, why did you not highlight it so much? So go over here and it says that the state they failed to mention, which one of the defendants said it, where the statements were made, whom the statements were made, where they were made, and when they were made. It offers no information on who may have heard the statements. It further fails to identify the statements with any degree of particularity to permit the defendants and this court to evaluate the allegations in context, which is crucial. I mean, how can we fight against something we're being accused of if we don't even know where, when, how, what? Like, we know none of that. How can we fight it? That's because it doesn't exist. So other than the existing controversy over the missing child that plaintiffs readily admit to themselves publicizing, the complaint offers no context for these accusations. Plaintiffs detail their efforts to create a media frenzy around the missing child in the first 46 paragraphs of their complaint. Critically, plaintiff Rogers, who paints himself as a victim of accusations of pedophilia and child murder, has, according to complaint, worked with plaintiff Dwayne Chapman, aka Dog the Bounty Hunter, to publicly accuse the child's stepfather of being involved in his child's disappearance. That's the hypocrisy part of it all that I personally can't stand, but whatever, here we are, right? So it goes down to say, the rules of how to properly fight a claim of defamation and how they fail entirely to meet them. But what I really liked is when we get all the way down to here, and it says, why their motion wouldn't survive even on like preliminary objections if the courts by chance don't decide that this is a slap. But down here, plaintiff's complaint does not merely admit that the underlying dispute over the missed child is a public controversy. It boasts about the plaintiff's role in creating the public controversy. The complaint devotes many of the first 45 paragraphs to emphasizing the very public nature of this dispute. These include publicizing the dispute through plaintiff Dwayne Chapman, aka Dog's, many live television appearances, publicly increasing the reward for information and effectively amplifying attention on the case tenfold in a short period. Plaintiffs also admit that plaintiffs Rogers and Chapman used the publicity in significant part to accuse the missing child's stepfather of being involved in the disappearance, essentially the equivalent of accusing the stepfather of allegations of criminal behavior and involvement in the child's murder. So plaintiff's admission that this matter is concerns a public controversy of their own creation is significant because it effectively renders the plaintiffs as public figures, or at the very least, limited purpose public figures. But we all know they're public figures because they all have YouTube channels now. They're all public figures. So as public figures, they face a far greater hurdle, blah, blah, blah. They failed to meet the actual malice standard, goes down further. But what I really like here, because I could read all this all day, but what I really like here is this part. In recent years, particularly since 2016, pedophilia or pedo has devolved into a near ubiquitous insult on social media platforms. At this point, the term, particularly when deployed without corroborating facts, do not carry the same sting they did 10 years ago. As proof, this court need look no further than recent social media posts made by some of the plaintiffs. That's right. The plaintiffs themselves have made these allegations against people. You gotta love that. So anyway, we have first up Plaintiff Hong, who says these people have no respect for little Sebastian's life. Bastards, traffickers, drug dealers, drug addicts, abusers, wife beaters, enablers, sex offenders, pedo Carl, pedo Penny, pedo Proudfoot, monsters. Then you have Plaintiff Chapman, Dog Bounty Hunter, on his social media, refers to somebody as a child pedophile. Then you got Nick, who repeatedly used the term pedo, including accusing a Nickelodeon producer of being a perverted pedo, calling pedo galore at Nickelodeon Disney. And then you have Plaintiff Andrea Griffin, aka Bullhorn Betty, who used the term pedo in reference to the parents of another missing child, which would be Summer Wells in regards to her father, Don Wells. So the point of this is not to condone the use of the terms, but to recognize that the terms have been defined into mere insults or vituperative outbursts, which are undoubtedly offensive, but not actionable in defamation. So in conclusion, although it served as a central feature of plaintiff's representation and oral argument, the alleged pedophile accusation appears in the middle of just one of the 350 paragraphs in the complaint. It was included as a throwaway allegation. Plaintiff Rogers fatally filed emotional distress claim. As such, it is woefully deficient of the pleading standards required for defamation plaintiffs, especially those who are public figures, such as the plaintiffs in this case. As alleged, the statement is nothing more than a type of caustic insult that many of the plaintiffs themselves use on their social media accounts. So, for those of you who are still arguing like, oh my God, they defamed Seth Rogers. Oh my God, it's not a lawsuit. Oh my God, this is what the courts are for. Okay. And this is what attorneys are for, to put people like you who know the very minimum who think you know it all because you covered true crime or you looked at something online, to put all of you in your place and tell you that you were wrong. And we will continue to fight this. We will continue to clear our names, not through public opinion as they have attempted, but through the courts where it's meant to be. So thank you for coming and joining with me in this video. Please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And while you're at it, leave your thoughts below. Very curious what you think. Do you understand that despite the fact that this is called an injunction and complaint, that it is a lawsuit, is being fought as a lawsuit, is costing as much as a lawsuit, and has been referred to as a lawsuit, but not only our attorneys, the plaintiff's attorneys, and also the judge in this case? You know, if somebody can point me to even one place where I've ever called Seth Rogers the P word, and then, and or point me to where I've ever said that he murdered Sebastian, I would really appreciate it. Because at the end of the day, it didn't happen. It doesn't exist. It wasn't any of their little exhibits because it just is a mere fabrication to attempt this ridiculous claim at my God, they listed like 20 different things, but most importantly, RICO.